Spassky makes his first move on the third game. Spassky plays d4, and the Spassky surprise, Fischer is nowhere to be found. So it's game 3. They agreed on all of Fischer's terms. They moved the cameras. Fischer did come here, and it took I believe some 15 minutes for Fischer to arrive. Fischer did arrive, but he didn't make his move just immediately. Rather, he kept complaining to the chief arbiter, Lothar Schmidt, and he was complaining about cameras making a sound. So now they had to turn all of the cameras, even those Fischer couldn't see, but he could actually hear them. So they had one closed circuit camera. That one made no sound, and that was the only camera that was allowed to record them. So it wasn't really a great spectacle for the audience. They had just, that soundless scene and basically a soundless replica of the board. So after all that settled down, Fischer finally makes his first move some 5 minutes after he's done complaining, and he responds knight to f6. Okay, we have c4, e6, knight to f3. Everything is the same as in game 1. But here, unlike game 1, Fischer doesn't go for the queen's gambit decline with d5, rather he goes with c5. So, inviting Spassky, rather challenging Spassky to a Benoni. And here, after all of this, we can call it psychological warfare, Spassky actually accepts the challenge. He plays d5 and goes straight into Fischer's famous Benoni, which, if you remember the Palma de Mallorca interzonal tournament, Fischer played a brilliant game in the Benoni with the black pieces against Wolfgang Guhlmann. But okay, E captures on d5, C captures d6, we have knight to c3, g6, and here this is a pretty standard position of the Benoni, where moves like e4 have been played, h3, but you can develop the dark square bishop. But here Spassky actually goes knight to d2. With this move, he goes into a different variation, and okay, this is nothing out of the ordinary. Knight b to d7 by Fischer, and now you could go something like knight to c4 to stop a black's development of the bishop as you're attacking this. But then knight to b6 is perfectly fine. The queen now defends the pawn. Also, you're offering the trade of knights, and you get a semi-open file for your rook. So here, Spassky goes e4. And okay, bishop to g7, bishop to e2. We have castles, rook to e8, and this is a well-known line. Everyone, if you've played the Benoni, you've encountered this line. Where Grigorich in his book says that a very often response here would be a4, but here Spassky actually has a home preparation ready. He plays queen to c2, and with this move, Grigorich in his book, he says that okay, it does save white a tempo when you look at the other variations, but on the other hand, the queen now leaves the king side, and it's when the queen is on d1, the queen-bishop battery really keeps an eye on this g4 square. But now that the queen is on c2, the queen might not be so useful on the king side. And this really how Fischer takes advantage of this slight imperfection in the position. Although, I mean, if you ask an engine, it's not even an imperfection. But if you remember... remember, I made a video on Tal's game against Jorgenitze. Tal had the black pieces, and he also played the Benoni. And at one point, queen to c2 was played by Jorgenitze, and Tal saw that by playing queen to c2, white left his rook that was on e1, okay, undefended, and then really unleashed a powerful attack. Here, Fischer uses a similar idea, and he plays knight to h5. A very nice idea, because now, as there's no queen on d1, you can just capture an h5 and then gobble up the pawn as well. So here Fischer is offering the knight, and also he's offering to mess up his pawn structure. But what else is there? I mean, aside from capturing the knight, if you don't capture the knight, what do you play? If you go something like knight to f3, because you do have to develop your pieces, make room for the bishop and everything, then Fischer simply continues knight to e5, and all is well here. Now, the light square bishop can also come into play. f5 will be an idea. Black is excellent here. So, I mean, it's offered. You have to take it. Spassky captures it. Bishop captures on h5. We have g captures on h5. And now knight to c4, pressuring the d6 pawn. And okay, knight to e5 by Fischer. This is, Fischer simply keeps developing. We have knight back to e3, as Spassky does want to keep an eye on this f5 square. And now comes queen to h4. A very nice idea by Fischer. Already, this is move 14, and already there are very unpleasant threats on the king side. And here, Spassky assesses the position correctly. He simply continues developing bishop to d2. But to play a move like bishop to d2, you have to, like, thoroughly analyze that knight to f3 isn't a death trap. because here knight to f3, it seems very powerful. For example, pawn captures, and now bishop to e5. Already if you're threatening checkmate. And okay, rook f to e1, you can make some room for the king, but let's say bishop to h3, queen to h3 is coming, now threatening, bishop captures on h2. Then f4, you block simply, bishop captures, and now knight to f1. The knight now guards the h2 pawn, and also you open up a discovered attack against black's bishop. Queen g4 check, now comes knight to g3, and now you have to see that after bishop captures, queen captures, and h4, if black wins a piece back, and also started a very nice attack, then black will definitely be better. But here queen to h6 is simply too powerful a move. H captures on g3, and now comes rook to e3, and now you see that there is no defense against rook to g3, either winning the queen or checkmating the black king. For example, even if you capture this, g captures on h2, simply king captures. Again, you will either face a rook to g3 and you lose the queen. Queen h3 is impossible, rook is covering that as well. If you move the queen, then a rook to g3 will simply lead to checkmate. So, bishop to d2, a very nice move by Spassky, and a very precise calculation that knight to f3 doesn't work just yet. Knight to g4. Fischer simply wants to, simply a positional idea, wants to improve his pawn structure. He is threatening checkmate on h2, of course. You do have to prevent this. Knight captures on g4 was played, h captures on g4. Now, the pawn structure on the king side is, again, very nice. And here, bishop to f4. Spassky had to play this. You do have to bring the bishop over here and keep an eye on this very strong bag, and also you have to keep an eye on the e5 square. And here, if Fischer insists on this bishop to e5 move, you can simply capture it. Rook captures, you're threatening rook to h5, but it doesn't matter. Even f4, rook to h5, you can simply go g3. The queen now is definitely useful on c2 as she guards the h2 pawn. So doesn't really work. So here Fischer finds a different idea. Queen to f6. Remaneuvering the queen by attacking the bishop. And now if you move the bishop back, you get h5, and then h4 is coming. So instead, after queen to f6, Spassky plays g3. Okay, bishop to d7. Fischer has to also keep developing his pieces. We have a4, and now comes b6. Now Fischer will try to prove that his majority on the queen side is much more important than Spassky's majority on the king side, which is often the case. If you have more pawns than your opponent on the side of the board where there are no kings, then that is definitely considered an advantage. Rook f to e1. We have a6, and here Fischer is preparing b5. Now he's starting to push on the queen side. Rook to e2. Spassky doesn't really find any counterplay, and he wants to double rooks on the e-file, and at some point hope to execute e5. Fischer pushes b5, and now immediately rook to e1. If you capture first, for example, pawn captures, then you get pawn captures, and after rook to e1, b4 is coming. Now, you don't really have the option of moving the knight. You have to go with your plan. e5, pawn captures, and now knight to e4. You attack the queen. Queen to g4. Now, kind of pinning the knight here, and after bishop to e3 as it is attacked. Yes, white did get a passed pawn, but it's not very likely that it will ever break through, and white doesn't really have compensation for the pawn. So after b5, we have rook a to e1 immediately by Spassky. And okay, queen to g6. Spassky's idea was to push e5, so why not simply prevent it? Queen to g6. If you push, then you're gonna lose a pawn, because after queen captures, rook has to recapture. There are not enough defenders on the e5 square. b3. Rook to e7 by Fischer. We have queen to d3, and now comes rook to b8. A captures on b5, a captures on b5, and now white doesn't really have a good move here. You still can't push e5. You can't play a waiting move, because if you play any waiting move, then b4 is coming and black wins the game. You move the knight, bishop to b5, wins the exchange, and black is up materially in a better position, enough to win the game. So Spassky has to push b for himself. Now we have c4. Now Fischer gets a nice passed c-pawn. Queen to d2, and now comes rook b to e8. Piling up on that e-pawn. Rook to e3. Really, there's nothing better. Bishop to g5 is impossible. You can't harass this rook because of bishop captures on c3. Queen captures, and you just lose a piece here. So, rook to e3 by Spassky. Now comes h5. Fischer prepares to push the pawn. We have rook 3 to e2. Spassky doesn't have a better option. He just has to wait and see what Fischer will do. And here Fischer kind of tests the patience of the world champion. King to h7. Rook back to e3, and Fischer repeats. King to g8 just once. Rook 3 to e2, and now, as Fischer can't find a way to successfully break through in any way, so he decides to at least grab a pawn and Perhaps this will give him enough advantage. Bishop captures on c3, queen captures, and now rook captures on e4. Rook captures, and rook captures. It might seem a bit odd to exchange this rook as well and improve the position of black's queen, but ideas like rook to a1 followed by rook to a8 are easily met with rook to e8, and again, white's position isn't any better. After rook to e4, Spassky captured a rook, rook captures, queen captures, and now comes bishop to h6. Threatening checkmate on g7. It's not better to capture on d6. You simply get queen captures on d5, you attack the bishop. And after queen f6 defending, you get queen to d1 check. King moves and bishop to c6, and it's all over. You're getting checkmated, whatever you play. So after queen e4, bishop to h6, Spassky threatens checkmate on g7. We have queen to g6 now, simply preventing checkmate. And white now has to play something. There's really not all that much to do. Your bishop is under attack, bishop to c1, and now comes queen to b1, pinning the bishop. We have king to f1. Spassky wants to get out of his cage, because you can't really stop. Bishop to f5 is coming to d3, or perhaps to e4 to f3. Not a lot you can do. And it's often the case when there are bishops of opposite colors. Here, Fischer has a light square bishop, Spassky has a dark square bishop. And it will very often be the case, if you're the side that's attacking, it will feel like the other side is down a piece, because the dark square bishop cannot oppose a light square bishop. So okay, king to f1. Spassky tries to bring his king out of the cage. Bishop to f5, as we've already said. King to e2, and now comes queen to e4 check, the strongest move by Bobby. If you try bishop to e4 with the idea of bishop to f3, then you get the bishop to b2. Again, checkmate is threatened. And after bishop to f3 check, king d2, now you don't really have an option here. You have to prevent checkmate by f6. And then queen to c2. You have to play something. You have to exchange queens here, and then you will really have to work hard to prove that you can actually win this game in an opposite color bishop's endgame. So after king e2, queen e4 check. Now Fischer is forcing Spassky to move his queen out of this very strong diagonal. Spassky plays queen to e3. If you tried moving your king, it doesn't really work. King to f1 runs into queen h1 check. King moves, now comes bishop d3 check. King moves, and now queen to f3. Threatening queen to e2. So whatever you play, you can threaten checkmate, but again, you grab a pawn, king moves, check, king moves now. You check, king moves, and now f6, and white has no moves. Literally no moves. Well, you can't capture because of mate on c2, and whatever you do, you are simply done. Too much material, and the black can win this game any way he likes. So, like we said, you have to move the queen out of this strong diagonal. Queen e3, we have queen to c2 with check. Queen to d2, and queen to b3 now. Here, Fischer prepares to push his c3 pawn. This is move 40, and you have to do something. And here, Liguric mentions, like, the same way Fischer made a very incorrect move that completely lost him the game in game 1. Well, he probably would have lost anyway, but at least there would be some chances for him to save the game. Queen to d4 was played, and now it's all over. Here, it was time to adjourn the game, and Fischer sealed his move, and of course, both Fischer and Spassky analyzed this through the entire night, but Spassky, as both of them were very low on time, Spassky couldn't really know which move Fischer sealed. So it was only the next day, after they continued the adjourned game, that the chief arbiter, Lothar Schmidt, informed Spassky that Fischer actually played queen to bishop to d3 check, and Fischer didn't even arrive to the game yet because he was late, but Spassky resigned even before Fischer came after the board. So it was it was very sad. It was the first time Fischer ever defeated Spassky. So they played 5 times before the World Chess Championship. Then he lost game 6 they ever played in round 1. Now it's a game 3, and this is the first time ever Fischer has beaten Spassky. And Fischer didn't even arrive at the board, so Spassky congratulates him personally. And none of Fischer didn't even hear the applause from the crowd, because he simply wasn't there. But yeah. He resigned because after this check, there's really nothing to do. After king to e1, you get queen captures on b4 check, you grab another pawn, and now, whatever you do, black can simply start pushing his pass pawns, and it's all over. Nothing to do here. And on the other hand, if you go something like king to e3, still, queen d1, so you threaten checkmate. Whatever white does, if white threatens checkmate, you're just gonna bring the king back, and it will be either king c1 or king c3 will be met with queen to c2 checkmate. So yeah, after this bishop to d3, the unsealed move, Spassky resigned the game, and like we said, the first ever victory by Fischer over Spassky, and definitely